This has turned out to be such a nightmare.
A Fremont family risked losing their home, they say, after renting it out only to find out that their tenants were gone and there were strangers living there through Airbnb. Investigative reporter Candice Nguyen looked into the bizarre circumstances that critics say reveals a loophole in Airbnb's policy, a policy that can leave small landlords vulnerable.
Lower your voice. I understand your frustration.
I'm the homeowner.
It's a homeowner tenant.
And I don't know them. I don't even know their names.
Airbnb nightmare that Ami and Avinash Jha say has flipped their families' lives upside down.
We have lost our peace of mind.
In August 2019, the Jhas bought their first home in Fremont.
We were excited. We couldn't believe it.
But they couldn't move in right away because they were locked in a lease. So they rented it out for a year to this couple.
They're family like us. They're trying to build a life here.
Instead, the tenants turned their dream home into a hotel, they say. Their rental agreement prohibited subletting. But in June, neighbors showed them these Airbnb posts.
We read through the reviews that even during the pandemic, about 200 guests had stayed there.
I was furious. All they wanted to do was make money off our house.
Which raises the question, does Airbnb check if the person creating the listing owns or manages the property? So here we are in my apartment. I can tell you I'm not allowed to put it on Airbnb, but let's try. So twice now we've gone through this, and already I'm here. I can start hosting starting in November, but not once have I been asked to provide any sort of document proving that I can even list it on Airbnb. Airbnb declined our repeated requests for an interview, saying these issues are rare, but we take them very seriously. The company tells listers by clicking next, you certify that you have all the necessary rights to list your space. The Jhas say that lack of thorough vetting by Airbnb led to this mess.
I'm the homeowner. I do not give you the consent.
That's Avinash's voice in the cell phone video. He was called to the house after his tenants locked out the Airbnb guests they had subleased the property to. Avinash says his original tenants were nowhere to be found. He later learned that they were attempting to return the house back to him, but says now the Airbnb guests weren't leaving.
And I don't know them. I don't even know their names. So they are trespassing on my property.
The Airbnb guests later got back into the house. We reached out to the original tenants for this story, but they wouldn't talk to us.
We may end up doing a foreclosure.
The Jhas say they also blame Airbnb for this dilemma.
I shared with them my lease contract to prove. I shared with them my county title papers that I am the owner of this house, but still they refuse to take down the listing or interact with me in any way.
Airbnb tells us they took down the listings in August. Online, the company told the Jhas, even when offered proof of homeownership, they are unable to evaluate private contract terms and cannot arbitrate these disputes.
These are situations that are happening all over the Bay Area and especially in Alameda County.
Alan Horowitz is a landlord attorney. Airbnb told us they believe these kinds of cases are rare. Is that true?
I can't speak for what happens all the way out there, but I can tell you that I have multiple cases that are like this, where we've got people who have come onto a property under the guise of Airbnb and then have just decided not to leave.
These homeowners say they aren't getting any rent. They don't have any sort of rental agreement with these Airbnb guests. The guests are claiming residency because they've stayed there for more than 30 days. Who's right? Who's wrong?
Legally, the tenants very well might be right. Legally, there's nothing the landlords can do about this.
Horowitz says Alameda County's COVID-related eviction moratorium makes it even harder on small landlords like the Jhas, which is why we reached out to Alameda County supervisors Scott Haggerty and Richard Valle. They say they're troubled by this case and Airbnb's response.
I think without a doubt they need to be held more responsible. I think it's criminal that Airbnb does not look and see who's on title for that property.
As for the eviction moratorium that you voted for, is it leaving some smaller landlords stuck?
I can see where that would happen. The general concept was that we wanted to protect the general population, especially the homeless.
So is there room for improvement?
There's always room for improvement. I agree with you. So we're looking at the potential of extending the moratorium beyond December 31st. We want to hear from the public to hear these kind of anecdotal stories.
Until then, the Jhas say they're forced to absorb the losses that have taken more than just a financial toll.
Sorry. just emotional that, you know, this has turned out to be such a nightmare.
Airbnb says they've taken down those unauthorized listings and suspended one of the guests' accounts. But the Jaws say those Airbnb guests are still living in their house, and throughout it all, they've never received rent. Candice Nguyen, NBC Bay Area News.
Thank you.